Hey y'all, this is Bob Pressler. We're listening to the Bonsai Time podcast with Kevin and Kelly and me. So let's have some fun.
Welcome to the Bonsai Time podcast. In this episode, Kevin Faris and I talked to Bob Pressler about the Ben Oki Scholarship Fund, how it was started, and why you should apply. Kevin and I were both past recipients of the scholarship. We did this episode to encourage others to apply for this opportunity to expand their bonsai education and contribute to the bonsai community. Bob is president of the California Bonsai Society, and he is also owner of Camira Bonsai Nursery in beautiful Castaic, California. I hope you enjoy listening to our conversation with Bob.
It makes a big, personally, I'm not a big people person. I'm really not, except for bonsai people. Seriously, I mean, 99.9% of my friends are through bonsai. 95 or more percent of my social activities revolve around bonsai. And the people that bonsai attract, for the most part, are pretty cool people. I mean, there's a few that aren't, but for the most part, I think a much bigger percentage of people involved in bonsai are not only good people, but honest and trustworthy. I've been in business since 1996.
Was that with the bonsai nursery?
Bonsai business since 1996.
Oh wow.
I've gotten one bad check. I actually got two. I've gotten two bad checks in all that time. The first one was written by a bonsai guy that it was Monday morning after a 3-day convention. And he stopped at the nursery on his way home back to Arizona, and he bought something and he wrote me a check. And he called me like 3 hours later and he said, I just checked with my bank and there's not quite enough money to cover that check yet. Will you hold it for a day or two before you deposit it? And it'll be good. And I said, sure. So that one didn't even really count as a bad check because he let me know ahead of time. And the other one, this kind of makes me laugh, was some little old lady. She must have been 76 or more. I mean, like really this little old lady came in and bought an $86 bonsai tree with not just a check that was no good, but a stolen forged check.
Oh God.
But which is, I just still to this day don't understand. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to steal a check and forge it, why buy an $86 bonsai tree? But whatever. But I think that's pretty indicative of the people in bonsai that in all those years, I've gotten two bad checks. But it's just the way it is. And a lot of people don't belong to clubs. Partially because sometimes clubs aren't really the most welcoming, friendly places to newcomers. For a variety of reasons, I guess. And partially just because, people are, a lot of people just like to be alone. But the opportunities that are given to you through the bonsai community, opportunities to learn and do things and meet other people and go on collecting trips and, find resources and all that stuff. Are pretty amazing, and they're multiplied tenfold when you belong to a club. And bonsai could very easily be a very easy thing to do alone. And for years, that's what I did. I would share it with friends of mine, and it was almost as good as a dog with a bandana around his neck to meet girls. They really thought, what a sensitive guy.
You dog.
Better than going, you want to go see my what they used to say, my engravings or whatever collection, Want to go see my bonsai trees? They're like, your what trees?
That's awesome. No, that's really true as well with the whole club scene. I've had my experiences with clubs. Being originally from Oregon, my home base was Bonsai Society Portland. With my first club meeting was like 150 people, and I
Yeah.
was the only new member. And at that time, I think they still do it. They make you stand up as like, "Hey, welcome this guy. Look here, look there. Everyone here's to help you." And I'm just like,
Kind of
"Yo."
feels like an AA meeting, right?
Exactly. Hi, Kevin. I'm addicted to bowling. It's like, oh, I give it. It's like, I think, come out to other clubs and things that are smaller. There's that intimate space. But I think, and I want to hear your opinion on this too, Bob. But I think there's changing now because people going into it and how experienced I am now with trying to change over the old avenues of like, well, we're going to be shut off this way and not open that way. I'm like, no, we must be open every way because we're losing people to not come in again. And similar like you were saying with the CBS club in response to like the drying out of the energy that was there, right?
Mhm.
With the Ohio State, I must say it correctly because of trademark, the Bonsai Club at the Ohio State University. I've been working on trying to bridge make a bridge for that school club to be also utilized within the local club. And this year will be our first year in the club's history, from what I've told, in Columbus Club, Bonsai Club history, that the annual show will be held at the college.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, so it'll be the first time on the ag campus where I go to school. And we're using one of their buildings there. And the arboretum, the director of the arboretum is super excited, getting involved with the community. We're trying to have more of an outpouring, and it's going to be huge. And I think in part due to the ability that I have had starting the club at the school with also our other co-host Ryan, he's helped too. He's the treasurer of the club. He's really good with his numbers. um, uh, it's just been such a benefit because with what I was able to do with uh, the scholarship is I was able to take classes. I studied with Todd Schlafer. I learned so much in the
Todd's
classes
an
I took,
awesome guy.
and I
He's
was
just a
like,
great human being.
yeah,
Besides being,
the hugs
one of the
alone was like,
top bonsai artists in the country.
yeah, I mean, his hugs alone just make you see life in
So,
a different
yeah, I
way.
mean, yeah, exactly. He's just
It's
like, yeah,
like now knowing I have the foundation, I already had it set right through this, but going into that experience of having this, I'll use the word again, upper echelon of tree ability to work on, as you know, because your
mhm.
nursery has those trees as well. They're not always accessible or available to work on, depending on where you're at, especially in the Midwest. It's kind of a desert out here. But now coming back from that, having utilized the what I was able to utilize via the scholarship, I felt more concrete in my knowledge of just like, yeah, I can help people now. And sure enough, we were starting to create a program, working on a mentorship, a quasi mentorship kind of program for creating new people to come back and kind of facilitate this education to streamline it instead of just going like, does this brick go with this brick or is the wall leaning? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's been great in response to just what we've gotten back from the community. And, I want to say thank you to you and the club and just the distinction that you guys have put out there that's helping the community. Because, I mean, if it wasn't for you when I met you at nationals back way back when, I wouldn't have gotten the awesome education too about landscape design. And that's helped me go through so much already. But honestly, like Kelly and I've talked about, we're just really honest to the point where it's almost too honest. And, we've talked to you about that. And you're like, honesty is the best policy because nobody can say you weren't. And in
Yeah.
regards to it's like,
I mean,
so I think
people aren't
bonsai
gonna
needs.
like it sometimes,
Oh no, because there's like,
but
oh, you weren't friendly about that. I'm like, well, it's honest.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not known for like um filtering what I say sometimes.
I love it.
I say what I think, but it's important. I love the fact that you're doing the stuff that you're doing with the school and bridging that gap because it's really
Yeah,
easy for clubs to stay insulated.
yeah. And
Um,
I've joined the board now, and I've also said, hey, if we don't have new blood, we're gonna die out because without
and that's the
new
bottom
and
line. I
it's
mean, you
like,
gotta
yeah,
keep new people interested and involved, and It's one of the reasons why one of the other things that we do in CBS to be a resource to the community is that 4 times a year we bring in a visiting artist
Mm.
from outside of Southern California. Usually, I mean, we've had Julian Sai, who lives here in Southern California, as our visiting artist one year. But I mean, we've had people from Japan, we've had people from Colombia and Spain and Italy and um, Puerto Rico and different parts of the country. And it's because we get to share with all the other clubs. There's like 5 clubs that meet in the third week of the month in the greater LA area. So we bring this artist in and we just share them with these other clubs.
That's
And
great.
we pay all the expenses, so the clubs don't have to worry about that. They just pay, as a demonstrator, but they get to have demonstrators that they wouldn't have access to any other way. And I don't know, I don't really want to take credit for it, but I will, because I don't think people used to do it too much before we started this.
Right.
But other clubs across the country are starting to do more, bringing in outside artists on a regular basis. Sometimes it may have happened like once a year or once every few years. A couple clubs would get together and pool resources and bring in Bjorn or bring in Ryan or something. But now it's happening on a much more regular basis, which is really cool. And I've heard of a couple of clubs that are starting scholarship programs. And even individuals. We have an individual here in Southern California, Larry Regal, who is a long time bonsaiist, and he's getting up there in age and can no longer take care of his trees, and he's got an amazing collection of shohin pots, and trees are kind of in recovery mode right now because they've been neglected for a little while. But his wife is taking steps to have the trees brought back up to snuff as best as possible, and she's going to sell off all the trees and pots and start a little scholarship and give away a couple $250 scholarships every year until the money runs out.
That's great.
Which is awesome. I think the more opportunities like that there are, the better it is for all of us.
I mean, speaking of that, you just, as a club, didn't you just implement a new fundraiser mechanism that you did with Tommy Lee or something?
Yeah. And that again was money just for the scholarship. Tommy's awesome. Tommy
I mean,
and
how
I
did that
are
even
really
come
good
about?
friends. Huh?
How did that even come about? Like, yo, Tommy, you want to?
Tommy and I are really good friends, and we met through bonsai. He was looking for a bonsai nursery close to his house, and just by luck, I happened to be it. And he was coming to the nursery for several months before I even knew about it. And Jorge, the guy that's been working for me since the late 80s, one day said to me that, hey, the drummer for Motley Crue is coming buying material. I was like, how the hell do you know who the drummer for Motley Crue is? He's a 60-year-old Salvadorian guy, right? Not at all into rock and roll or anything like that.
Supersedes all generations.
He saw Tommy's Black Master or Black American Express card, which, automatically says that you're somebody rich. And then the tattoos and all, and he figured he was probably somebody rich and famous, so he asked his kids. And his kids told him who he was. So he told me, and I told him, hey, next time he's in, let me know if I'm here, and I'll introduce myself. And I did, and he was asking me questions about a tree that I couldn't answer without seeing the tree. So I said, I'd have to see the tree. So he asked me if I would be willing to come by his house and, look at the tree, because can I book you for an hour? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I went over there. I was only supposed to be there for an hour. I got there at like 2 PM or something like that. And 9 o'clock that night, his wife was like, Tommy, are you going to feed Robert? We were just sitting outside, like talking about his trees and working on his trees. And just right away, we just like really gelled.
Yeah.
And we've become really good friends. And, just last year, I went on the best trip of my life with Tommy. He took me to Japan for 16 days.
That looked like an amazing trip.
And that was just it was mind blowing. It's amazing the doors that open up to you when you're a rock star or when you're with a rock star. You know, it's a whole different world. But his passion for bonsai is incredible.
Hmm.
So last year I asked him, we were talking about the scholarship, and I said, hey, how'd you like to help out? I didn't want to ask him for a check. I probably should have. He could have probably wrote, a big old check, but I don't want to do that. So
Work
I
for
said, how'd you like to do a workshop? Let's raffle off or auction off a workshop with you and me and use the money for the scholarship fund. He was like, yeah, sure, dude, I'll do that. Sounds like fun. So we did. We decided I decided to do psyches because it would probably be, a rock fan, not really a bonsai person that was going to be doing it. And one cool thing about psyches is like it's one of the few things in the bonsai world where you can get instant gratification. I mean, they get better with time, but instantly when you put it together, you kind of have this cool little landscape scene that you put together.
it.
So I figured a psyche would be a cool thing to do. And we auctioned off this workshop with me and Tommy, and the high bid was $7,500.
Nice.
And and it was a girl that was just graduating high school. This was her high school graduation present from her mom.
Nice one. Wow.
Yeah, really nice one. She didn't win the bid for that. Her mom, the alternative present was that they were going to go to Ireland and see Motley Crue on the 4th of July in Ireland. So I think her mom actually liked it better this way. It was probably a little cheaper.
Right.
And I invited her mom to come along with her because she was a minor, and we live in Los Angeles and weird shit happens here. And we just had a blast. She was a little shy at first. But that took about 5 minutes to get over that. Tommy was just being Tommy and so gracious, and she got over being starstruck. And we spent like 5 hours creating psyches and had a blast and raised another $7,500 for the scholarship fund.
That's great.
So,
so how long?
So
how
yeah,
long
I
do you
like to try to do. I like to try to do something once a year that raises money specifically for the scholarship,
Okay.
not just the club.
Right.
Because I want to keep that going.
As you're sitting at
So
now, and I'm not asking for full amount, dollar amount, how many more years are you able to go with as much money as you guys have now?
right now, I think probably 10 or so
Okay.
without touching other club money.
Okay.
Um, maybe actually maybe a little bit more than that. So let's see, 16 from the tree, that's 8 years. And another terrible at math. Another 3.5 years with the 7,500. So 11 years or so right now without anything else. And I can intend to continue, raising funds specifically for that. In fact, I'm going to take this opportunity right now.
Please.
If anybody wants to contribute towards a scholarship fund, we're more than happy to take any donations, earmarked for that. It's probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my bonsai career. I'm an okay bonsai artist, but I'm never going to be, like an earth-shattering bonsai artist. I'm never going to be a Bjorn or a Ryan or
Right.
something like that. But I can make almost as big, if not as big, an impact on the bonsai community in my position as president of CBS. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's going to be kind of my bonsai legacy, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really proud of being able to do that. So
I'm appreciative of it. So is Kelly.
well, and I hope to continue doing it for a good long time coming. And Doyle, I'm telling you once again right now that you're the next president. So Doyle keeps saying, yeah, but he is. He's going to be our next president. And I know Doyle will continue the tradition.
One of my goals, and I talked to Kelly about this too recently, as we keep saying we've won big scholarship and it's great, and we want to get more scholarship winners on to talk with us about their experiences, because I think if we as a community can really relate it back to the people listening, they may be more inclined to want to like, well, I can try. Okay, I want to be in that process. I want to get it because that's what we really want. Is this? That's why we started this podcast. Is just to help be an anchor for the community. Historically, funny stuff, horticulture, whatever. Just be as an avenue for people to learn from.
Mhm.
But with your time today too, so many things. It's like wow, and in just your short period of time too, as if you look at it from when you started to where you're at now, that's a lot you've done. So you now have a new location for your nursery too, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I
I've only seen
completely
photos. It
changed the
looks
whole.
beautiful.
What's that?
I said I've only seen photos, but it looks like an amazing
Well, you
little
gotta
piece
come
of
out and
heaven.
visit.
I
We're
would
only
love
a
to. I would love
short
to.
plane ride away.
Right. Maybe this fall I can get out there. That's all right.
There you go. Next time you go to Japan, make a stop in LA for a couple of days.
No, I'm gonna have to.
And you did last time, but it was only for a couple hours, right?
It was a last minute thing. Doyle was like, "You should have told me I would have taken you out for burgers and burgers and fries. Bob could pick you up, take you to the club." It was just a last minute deal. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
it. It was a whole, you know what I'm saying? Getting to
Yeah.
Japan, sometimes the hardest part is getting there.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like, you know what I mean, but you know what I'm saying. Um, what are some things that people can do now as far as when is the expected window of applying? Like when are people supposed to
We
know?
open up applications the beginning of May, goes through the whole month of May. And it takes a couple of weeks for the committee to kind of go through the applications and then narrow down the field and then kind of decide, who's who. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult because there's like a number of people that everybody feels is deserving.
Hmm.
And we can only, unfortunately, we can't give it to everybody. So
So is that like a juried process, or how does that vote come
it's a
about?
committee. Just there's a 4 or 5 of us, and we just
Hmm.
kind of go through and kind of vote, and whoever gets the most votes gets the money.
Nice.
Um, so applications start at the beginning of May and
Hmm.
run through the whole month of May. And what we ask is that you write us a short little note saying what you want to do, like if you want to take, lessons with a specific teacher or something, or you want to learn a specific technique or something like that. Tell us what you want to do, who you want to do it with, and what you're willing to do to give back to the community. Um, and that to me, that's the most important part of it. Um, is what somebody wants to do to give back to the community. And there are some people in the bonsai community that think if you're not creating world-class bonsai that you're just wasting time. And I don't agree with that at all. I personally believe that there has to be room for all styles, phases, levels, whatever bonsai there is, from people that just want to get the little juniper from the guy on the side of the road in the truck
Yeah.
to people that want to create world-class bonsai and
Hmm.
everything in between. And you never know where one's gonna, most people start out with a little juniper on the side of the road.
Right.
That's generally where a good, either that or a ficus.
Yeah.
That's where the biggest majority of people start out. And the biggest names in bonsai today in the US, Ryan Neal, Bjorn Bjornholm, both
Hmm.
started that way. They just got a little goofy percumbens and juniper, and now look at them.
Right. Right.
So, it's the same thing as that seed being planted. You never know where it's going to go. But I think it's really important that as a community, we're accepting of wherever anybody wants to be in bonsai. I
Hmm.
also think it's important that, bonsai progress as much as possible. And
Hmm.
I'm really thankful for people like Bjorn and Ryan and Peter T and uh shoot my mind just went blank.
Julian
Just
Sai, all those guys.
yeah, all of them. And
Ah,
but it's also important for just the kind of local enthusiasts or the guys selling bonsais on the side of the road, or the places that are selling mass produced little junipers and ficuses and stuff like that. All of
hmm.
those are equally as important to me. um of course I'd like to see more and more world-class trees, and I'd like to see like 4 or 5 of national or Pacific Bonsai Expo level shows across the country.
Right.
Because the more that there is, the better, the trees become. But I also want to see a bunch of little junipers and, sticks and pots in people's back porches.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a cool thing. And for some people, the goal is world-class bonsai. For other people, it's just having a cool little tree in a pot. For some people, it's a real spiritual thing. It becomes kind of a way of life. For me, it's a whole bunch of different things. It's a business. It's a spiritual thing. It's how I meditate. I've
Right.
never been able to sit down in a room and just shut my head up. It doesn't work. Just like it just keeps going. But I can sit down with a tree, and within a couple of minutes, it's just me and the tree, and I'm not even consciously thinking about what I'm doing anymore. I literally can just like meditate on a tree. And that's really important to me. And that's the kind of stuff that I want people to get. I don't really care if they're making world-class bonsai or if they have little sticks and pots. If they're getting pleasure out of it, if they have a passion for it, and it's bringing them peace and getting them closer to nature, then that's all we need. And hell, the world can use as much of that kind of stuff as we can possibly get.
Especially nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I mean. I mean, like
With
anything. So,
yeah.
you
With
know,
with your recent trip to Japan, did that give you a different allocation or identity of what bonsai can be now from where it was? Because you saw the where it was and where it started in the sense of this term bonsai, right? Did that help you kind of give you more inertia for trying something new to help your community now?
yeah, a little bit because even bonsai in Japan has changed.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. The last time I was there was in 2017 or 2018,
Hmm.
and I saw some of the same trees that I saw then that have progressed over that 5 years or whatever, and they've changed. I think bonsai in Japan, and partially maybe because of financial necessity, has expanded more. Just look at their apprentices. The number of foreign apprentices in Japan is greatly expanded, which is awesome because then those guys go back to their home countries and they get to share the knowledge that they get there that's not available anyplace but there.
Yeah.
And not to say that the way they do it in Japan is the end all be all, but it's certainly the best.
Mm.
And it's for me, it's something to strive for. I may never get there. And it's also important to realize that not all bonsai in Japan are world-class bonsai either. There's as many crappy little, hobbyist trees as there are here.
Yeah,
But
that was really eye-opening for me when I saw that on the street. I was like, wait, what? Like that
yeah, I
looks like
mean,
something in my
we
friend's
kind of
yard.
get this idea in our head that, every tree in Japan is a masterpiece. And
That's all we see, right?
huh?
That's all
It's
we
not
see on
always
the
the
internet.
case. And even in some nurseries where there are, like $1 million trees, there are half dead, kind of neglected
Yeah.
other trees there too. So, but yeah, it has in a way. It inspired the hell out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, at
Were,
one
were
point,
you there?
I wrote the-
Were you there with an interpreter, or did you? I
we
don't know.
traveled with Mikiko Kobayashi.
We're hopefully gonna get her on someday. We've been trying to
Um,
work that out. Be
you
great to
should,
talk to her.
let me know. I'll try to help you out with that because
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Mikiko's friggin' awesome. I mean, the trip would not have been anywhere near as good as it was without her. I mean, first of all, she's been a writer for Kinbon and she worked for Nippon Bonsai Association. So she
Yeah.
knows the whole bonsai world in Japan. She
Right.
knows everybody. Um, and she's really well connected with the Japanese garden community there. So for
Mm,
us, it was like
yeah.
perfect. We couldn't have had a more ideal guide. And she's a Motley Crue fan. She has been since she was a teenager. So that was just like icing on the cake. She was like super
Blew her
thrilled to,
mind and everything else.
yeah, I mean, that blew her mind. She got to, I mean, everything we did was like top of the line, 5-star hotels and all that stuff.
full circle. That's amazing.
So it couldn't have been any better. But it was just an amazing thing. And even there, like Tommy's stardom as being a rock star was one thing, but when people there realized that, he was into bonsai too, I mean, that just blew their minds.
Right.
And, the shows there, he would, get up and talk about, that and about how much he loved the Japanese culture and gardens and stuff. Our trip there the purpose was twofold. He wanted to share Japan and, the culture with his kids and me and stuff. But, for him and I, it was for bonsai and Japanese garden inspiration, because we're also building his garden at his house. So, and we're building a, really kind of traditional Japanese style garden.
Did you guys go to Kyoto a lot, or where did you guys go for the
We
gardens?
spent a bunch of time in Kyoto and temples and stuff. And it's amazing what traveling with a rock star does, the doors that open up. Like, they would close temples for, while we were there, so that we could
Oh, wow.
just like be and not have to deal with the crowds. And
So fully undisturbed, just disclosed only to you both. Wow.
yeah. And, like a couple of them, they were supposed to open at 9. They delayed opening until, 10:30 or 11. So we could, just kind of like chill and enjoy the gardens. One of the things we're doing in Tommy's garden is making a dry garden. So he was really interested in the raking and stuff. So, like we had these moms bringing out their rakes, and like some of them I was afraid to touch. They looked like they were falling apart so much. These like 100-year-old wooden rakes that they're using to rake the gardens. And in fact, the newest issue of Kinbot magazine has, I think, like an 8-page article about our trip.
Oh, wow. I'll have to look out for that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all in Japanese except for like a little paragraph Tommy wrote at the beginning.
Right. Oh, my wife translated.
The picture. Oh yeah, the pictures are just amazing. Like Kimura, for instance, he's famous for never cracking a smile, for just always being like super serious and stuff like that. We even in the magazine we have a picture of him with the big old smile, laughing and stuff. But he was, out here flashing devil horns and stuff like that. They wouldn't let him print that one. But we had, Buddhist monks, flashing devil horns like rock and roll. And, it was just freaking awesome. That, it blew me away. Like the one monk was like just so enthralled with Tommy. It was like wanted his autograph. He was like, "Oh, I'm so honored to meet you. I've been, a fan since I was a kid." And it's like, how does a monk become a fan of Motley Crue? Right? And he just looked at me and he said, "I wasn't always a monk, So, it's like that combination of his rock stardom and his love for bonsai, really, and Japanese gardens and culture really kind of was mind opening, and how people reacted to that and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
I only ever saw Tommy at the last Pacific Bonsai Expo, and I was like, I'm not even going to go up because I don't know him. I'm not the kind of person to do that. I went to you to say thank you at that time because I had won the 2022 scholarship. And I was like, you know what? That's a different realm. But I could tell that he was very conscious and very kind and very genuine person. And just
the
vibe about him, like, wow, he seems like a really nice guy. And that in Japan goes really far for someone, right? It's just like they pick up on it. And it's an amazing trip. I'm really glad you got to go on that.
Yeah, me too. It was, like definitely the trip of a lifetime.
I wanted to talk to you about that for a while. I was like, man, I want to talk about and
yeah.
Well, you had said earlier in the conversation, and Kelly and I were talking about before, that Seth Nelson had won, right? And was that prior to him going to?
No, he was in Japan when he
applied. Okay. So there wouldn't be a discouragement for somebody to go possibly say, I want to go do apprenticing in Japan, and this would help me get there and bring it back to my community. That wouldn't be a deterrent.
Not at all.
No.
I mean that's definitely a legit thing.
Yeah. I mean, I went I went and saw Shinji Shizuki's garden last summer when I got married in Japan to my wife. And it was a weird eye-opening experience for me to see that he only had foreign apprentices, no national Japanese people
Mhm.
apprentices. It was very eye-opening. I was like, whoa, but that world stage is a lot bigger now, like you were saying. And I was like, huh, could those people benefit from its scholarship in some way to help them get a nice bowl of ramen? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I told Seth to do after he won was like, go buy a steak, dude. You know?
He's been eating a lot of peanut butter, so it seems.
Now he wanted like what was it I sent him? Um
Send him a
something.
care package or something, or
Yeah, I sent him a care package once and he asked for some really odd things. One of them was deodorant,
yeah,
uh
it's
Old
hot over
Spice deodorant. One of them was Irish Spring soap. And there was some kind of candy. What the hell was it? I can't remember what it was, but we sent him this big giant bag of whatever the candy was. You know, he was like, yeah.
That's great. That's amazing.
But yeah, and you know, those guys, all those apprentices, I think are going to really help improve bonsai. Because first of all, they're all young, which is really a good thing because they're going to ensure that a younger generation is becomes interested and they know how to approach a younger generation than us older guys do. You know, like I don't feel like I'm 65. I certainly don't act like I'm 65,
I
but
would
I'm
not have guessed.
65.
I honestly, I would not have guessed.
You know,
I would
so you
not blow
know,
smoke up your butt.
I don't quite know how to relate to 18-year-olds quite so much. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I'm not quite sure what they're into and stuff like that. But when you get, you know, somebody that's in their 20s that you know is as passionate about bonsai as Seth is, or you know any of these other guys, they can relate to him.
yeah.
And you know, people get the mistaken idea that bonsai is just a bunch of old retired guys, and it maybe it used to be,
So my
and
in-laws said, yeah,
yeah, and it used to be that way here and in Japan,
yeah,
but not quite so much anymore. Part of that's the internet.
hmm,
You know, the internet has really expanded the opportunity for people to, you know, learn about bonsai and stuff. The one thing about the internet is that there's as much good information as there is bad information, maybe even more bad information than good information. And if you don't know any better, it's hard to tell what's what. You know, like
yeah,
some people will be scrolling through Face or YouTube, for instance, say, "Oh wow, look, this guy's got 13 million followers. He must really know what he's talking about." Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You know, what it means more than anything to me is that he really knows how to market himself. You know, then I start, you know, looking and seeing, you know, I was like, whoa, this guy knows how to market himself. Now, does he know bonsai? You know, I don't know. I'll have to watch a few videos to decide that.
help his marketing.
But, you know, but, you know, the internet has really become one of the major things that I think that are responsible for bonsai reaching younger people. Because
Yeah,
especially now, you know, like that's where they get all their information. During the
yeah,
pandemic, another one of the things that we really did to, you know, kind of be a resource was we taught local clubs how to take advantage of technology, how to like live stream their meetings and stuff like that.
yeah.
And at first there was a lot of resistance. You know, they're like, well, if we live stream our meetings, nobody will come. Well, right now nobody can come. So if you don't live stream your meetings, you're gonna die. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, we have no place to meet. There's, you know, this is the only way we can stay in contact with people. But what we found, for the most part, were that the clubs that live streamed their meetings wound up growing their membership.
Yeah.
And you know, we had people that lived in the same town that the meeting was held in that had no clue that there was a bonsai club in that area until they happened to see the live stream.
Wow.
Um, you know, and so uh, the opposite of, you know, nobody coming, you know, why should people come to the meetings if they can just watch them online, was actually had the opposite effect. And, you know, part of that was the pandemic. I mean, I think any club that embraces the internet then wound up growing. Some of them wound up kind of going back again after things opened up again. But a lot of them retained those newer members. And the clubs that are doing that and embracing the new members are really growing by leaps and bounds.
Now, was that
So
CBS specifically that implemented that, or is that like GSBF as well, or what's the difference
no,
between the two
it
even?
was a CBS thing, and then
Okay,
other clubs not even through us, just started doing it, I think, because of circumstances.
right, right.
It's like, if you wanted to continue having any contact with your membership,
Yeah, do or
you had no
die.
choice
Yeah.
but to do it online, you know.
Mm.
And some people did, some clubs did just like close Zoom meetings. Other clubs did Facebook live streams were really easy because it was free. You didn't really need any equipment except for a telephone. So that was a lot of clubs went that way. But you have to change. You have to embrace new ideas and even new technologies and stuff if you want to continue to grow. And for me, I think that it's really important that bonsai continue to grow, and that means changing and going along with the times. So,
Right.
and sometimes that means we got to drag people by the hair, kicking and screaming to make it happen, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're not moving, you're not growing, right? Like you're saying.
Right. You know,
It's interesting in the fact that you push so hard. My opinion is that you push so hard to create a scholarship. Where do you see bonsai going now? Do you want more clubs to create more scholarships, or?
that would be nice. I would love to see that, that's just more opportunity for more people to study and do things, and kind of evens the playing field a little bit. Bonsai, as you know, can be pretty expensive.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of holds some people back. It certainly holds some people back from the idea of developing better trees, because some people get the mistaken idea that you got to spend thousands of dollars to create a really good tree. It helps, but it's no guarantee. I mean, if you don't have the right skills, you can have the best piece of material in the world and it may not go anywhere. If you have the right skills, you can take kind of a mediocre piece of material and turn it into something with proper technique and the right amount of time. So, but everything helps. And anything we can do to kind of make it easier for people to engage in bonsai or learn about it, I'm all for, particularly when it's geared towards people that aren't already part of the community.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
easy to get bonsai people to come to bonsai events,
ideally. Right.
well,
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when we have an opportunity, like, sometimes, last year, a couple years ago, I guess it is now, a local library asked if we could put on a small exhibition and maybe do a demo or two.
That's
And I
great.
said, sure. And first of all, I was blown away by the number of people that actually use this library. It's like, who uses libraries anymore? So that was eye-opening for me, just the fact that, I mean, there were like probably 1,000 people came in and out through the course of the day,
Wow.
which
That's
really
great.
blew me away.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And we had, a bunch of people come and, come and look at the trees we had. And it was just a small exhibit. I think we had maybe a dozen trees. I just asked club members that lived near that local library, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think we did 2 demos, and the room was packed both times.
That's great.
And afterwards, I had 3 or 4 new students come to my classes, and I know at least one other person had a couple of students go to their classes. So things like that. I get calls from like Google or Amazon, or
Hmm.
do like corporate team building bonsai events, and I'm always all over those. Sometimes
Okay.
we do it through the club. Sometimes I do it personally.
Yeah,
But anything I can do to promote bonsai to non-bonsai people is something I'm just gonna almost automatically say yes to.
that's great. Yeah, because what going back to I was afforded the opportunity to win. It gave me the opportunity to think about how much more can I impact my community outside of my local, even just stronger into other countries, right? And just making this impact just with this outlet we have now with the podcast. But something my other co-host Ryan, he couldn't make it tonight. He says hi, by the way. Um, he and I have been trying to work on getting bonsai demonstrations into retirement homes or old folks homes because some of those people are the ones that need some of the most interaction. Because a lot of the
Mhm.
time they're sitting in front of the boob tube and it's like, hey, you're rotting away slowly. No, let's not have it, or as I'm sure you noticed in 2020 with the aspect where people going into plants because it made them feel okay. Because at that time it was all haphazard, right?
Right.
That's yeah. And I'm just really excited to get this out here for people. And Kelly and I were really stoked that you decided to come on. Like, yeah, we get to talk to Bob alone. Just to talk to you is a great time. But it's also the fact that we get to educate people on the fact that everyone should apply for this and really just embrace the fact that if you don't get it, keep applying. Refine your search, refine your terms, refine what you want to do, right? In relation to just like keep working at what you want to do to make it your thing. That's what I figure.
Yeah. I mean, and frankly speaking, there's only two scholarships give out each year, so your chances of getting it are kind of slim, depending on how many applications we get. But if you don't apply, your chances of getting it are zero.
So said my wife.
You know, so and I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, really, you could spend 5 minutes at it and possibly get $1,000 to learn something that you could hold dear for the rest of your life.
Is there any talk for future to have more than two scholarships available, or that be
Um,
sometime like
that
distant?
we haven't really discussed that. But if for whatever, if somehow financially,
Yeah.
that becomes possible, sure, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to give us a grant of 50,000 or 1 million, or, whatever,
Google.
I will take it and I will make sure it gets put out there and do as much good to the community as possible. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, right now we're trying to be realistic with the funding that we have and stuff. But, if funding increases exponentially somehow, then the scholarships will too.
That would be
I would
great.
really love to be able to like give out a scholarship that'll cover a full year of intensives with somebody, or that
Yeah.
will help an intern, pay his living expenses for a big chunk of time or something, or an apprentice, not an intern. Uh, you know, but right now, we're limited just due to finances, not due to the
But the
ability of
availability that you have to even give it
hire.
away is
Yeah.
amazing. Just like, wow.
So
You know,
yeah, so if somebody out there has really deep pockets and wants to help, give me a call. You know,
awesome.
Bob, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
We enjoyed having
It's
you on here.
cool to talk to you guys. I love seeing, two of the winners actually doing something.
Yep, and we're really appreciative of the opportunity. So just really quick, I wanted to tell everyone where to go to apply. You can look at the CaliforniaBonsaiSociety.com. I highly encourage you guys to join the California Bonsai Society Facebook group. When Bob brings these visiting artists, we do live streams.
Mm.
So that would give you a good opportunity to learn from these others. We recently had Michael Ryan Bell. It was really a good presentation that he gave to our club. Um, and you'll get updates on when to apply for the scholarship and how to do so. Also, California Bonsai Society is also on Instagram under California Bonsai Society. So, with all of that, you should be able to find out about the scholarship. We highly encourage you to apply. I was about a year in before applying, and I
Mm.
thought, why not?
Mm.
What like Bob said, what is it going to hurt? I tried to give it a little bit more thought than 5 minutes, But if you already have something ruminating, go for it. If you only have 5 minutes, do that.
Well, the
Kevin,
typing it up takes 5 minutes. I would hope
yeah,
that
Right.
the thinking about it takes a little bit longer.
I hope people do think about it a little bit, because I think that'll up your chances. If you consider it, maybe even consult your friends that are in bonsai to see if it's a good idea, because that's what I did before I applied. But make it come from the heart. I think if it comes from the heart, the passion will show. That's my advice. But I
Yeah.
also know of other people that have been doing bonsai for 20, 30, 40 years that have applied and also won a scholarship to advance in or increase their knowledge in a certain area. So it should be anyone that can apply. Like Bob was saying, it should be inclusive. So you could be brand spanking new or in it for a long time, but apply and think of how you can give back to the rest of the bonsai community. Thank you.
Thanks, Joey. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Bob, real quick, if people want to know more about your nursery, which is named Kimura Bonsai Nursery, correct?
Mhm.
Where
And
can they
it's
find
called
you?
Kimura
And
Bonsai Nursery, not because of Masahiko Kimura, which some
Sorry.
people mistakenly think, it is. When I originally bought the nursery, the
Hmm,
original owner was Jim Kimura, Norihiko Kimura.
nice.
And part of my agreement with him when we bought the nursery was that I could keep the name because Kimura Bonsai sounds a whole lot better than Pressler Bonsai or Bob's Bonsai. And in fact,
Van
I
down
didn't
by
know
the
this
river.
until Tommy and I did a podcast a couple months ago. But when he was looking up, bonsai nurseries in his area, he saw because California Bonsai Studio was almost the same exact distance in the opposite direction as me. He saw California Bonsai Studio and Kimura Bonsai, and he thought, Kimura Bonsai, that sounds legit.
I
And
mean, yeah,
that's what, I mean, that was the thing.
that's
And
great.
I laugh sometimes. People used to come into the old nursery and I'd be watering or something. They'd look at me and they walk right past me, looking for some, little Japanese guy. Um, you don't
How
look like
tall are you, Bob?
Oh, he's pretty tall.
Like you're what,
yeah,
6'2", 6'3"? But yeah,
6'3", yeah.
no.
So,
Where can people find you? Do you have a website? Do you have
yeah, we have a
Instagram?
website, KimuraBonsaiNursery.com. We're on Instagram, Kimura Bonsai Nursery, Facebook, Kimura Bonsai Nursery. I personally do not do most of the Instagram and Facebook posts. Diana does most of those. I do occasionally do
Hmm.
up here and there when I feel the urge. But yeah, we're on those two social medias, and we have a website, and we're open to the public 2 days a week, just Saturday and Monday, but we're open by appointment anytime.
Hmm.
And we've got, if I do say so myself, pretty beautiful bonsai garden. In a pretty cool area. It's 23 miles from, the center of LA, but it feels like a completely different world.
Oh, nice.
So, it's pretty awesome.
And
So thanks
yours,
for having me, guys.
I was gonna say real quick, you're mainly focusing on Japanese garden design now, or all garden design and bonsai, or what do you focus on now?
Mostly Japanese garden design. If somebody asked me to do something else, and I really like them and I liked the project, I'll say yes. But everything I do is, even if it's, kind of hidden a little bit, is influenced by Japanese style aesthetics and
Yeah,
stuff.
the flow.
Um, right now I'm really lucky that I can really kind of pick and choose the projects I do, and I'm doing nothing but Japanese style gardens, but circumstances are different, then I'll do something different. I draw the line at succulent cactus though. I just
Yeah.
can't do it,
Yep. Yep. No boxwoods.
They just don't work for me. I have plenty of boxwoods. Boxwoods are, it's an important part of the Japanese garden.
Well, and the relation of shearing them and then making them 1950s plastic.
Yeah.
But thank you, Bob, so much. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see, if not before then, I'll see you in October at the
Yeah,
Pacific Bonsai Expo, which is
for sure.
if anybody listening gets the opportunity, go see it. It's, going to be an incredible show.
It's mind-blowing.
Today's episode was recorded, edited, and produced by Ryan Houston, Kevin Faris, and Kelly Lui. To find out more and see pictures relevant to today's topic or sponsors, see the show notes linked in the description or at bonsaitimepodcast.com. To submit questions, suggestions, or tree pictures for future discussion, find the contact form also on our website or message us directly at bonsaitimepodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to support us in making more episodes, consider rating us, sharing with friends, donating, or becoming a sponsor. Our music was provided by Mini Cancer. To find more of their work, check out their SoundCloud and Bandcamp pages. To stay in touch with us, subscribe to us in your podcast app or find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Bonsai Time Podcast or on TikTok at Bonsai Time Pod. Also, Kevin and Kelly are at Kevin_FerrisPNW and Bonsai with Kelly, respectively, on Instagram. And Ryan is invivobonsai.com and on all social media. Remember, have fun and bonsai on.